So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this coffee review. Today, I'm going to be tasting this coffee, and this is Starbucks French Roasts. Interestingly, I got this as a present from one of my friends who is an air hostess. She went to Seattle from London for the weekend, and she brought me back a pack of the Starbucks French Roast. It's one of the biggest names in the world when it comes to coffee production, so I'm really excited to be trying this and to seeing what it's like today. If we have a quick look at the packet, you can see here it's got the Eiffel Tower, it's got a Baron Haussmann building, and it's got some kind of dreamy clouds going on. And yeah, then it's just got the Starbucks brand logo, it's got the symbol. So we just got a little bit of information here. The French roast story. Muted with oil, the tumbling beans become eerily silent. A master roaster watches, knowing that if he pushes them a second too long, they will burst into flame. White smoke hangs down as the glistening beans turn ebony. This is French roast, and you can't roast it darker. Straightforward, light-bodied, with low acidity, and immensely popular since 1971, our darkest roast is adored for its intense smokiness. So that's quite interesting. I wasn't aware that it was their darkest roast, and well, you can see here on the pack it says dark roast. With this brief description, I think they're almost trying to create a fairy tale atmosphere, a bit like Euro Disney or something like that for the American market. So I know French culture and French cuisine is very popular in the United States, especially from Paris. It's extremely popular. So yeah, really interesting packet. I quite like that. I think they could actually make the pictures at the bottom a bit bigger to give more of an image of the French culture. So this is whole bean Arabica coffee. It's roasted and packed for Starbucks in Utah Avenue, Seattle, Washington. It doesn't actually say on the packet where the coffee is from, so it doesn't say where the beans were grown, it just says French roast. But I do know that from experience, Starbucks uses a blend normally, so they quite often have a mix of Brazilian beans, Colombian, and then quite often stuff from Java or Vietnam or something like that. Normally they have a blended combination of beans. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. It does say committed to 100% ethical coffee sourcing, but it would be nice to know where the beans are from so we have a better idea of what kind of origin the coffee has. I'm going to open up the packet now and first of all do a smell test just to get the aroma for this coffee. It does say notes of dark caramel and sweet smoke. So I do like a dark roast actually. On the whole, I prefer dark roasts as opposed to light roast or blonde roasts. Yeah, so therefore I am looking forward to this. Wow, smells really strong. You can smell those dark notes straight away. Yeah, just a very powerful, strong coffee smell. Really good. I don't know if you can actually see inside the packet there. Open it up a bit more. Yeah, so you can see the beans are really dark. They're almost black. And what I like actually is that Starbucks have got a kind of reusable bag with a little bit of tape and an iron wire at the top to close it with. So it means if you're just doing a small amount of grinding, you can keep this in the packet and it should last and stay good. So that's a really nice thing actually. I think that's a really positive thing for coffee companies to do. Yeah, so like I said, just an amazing smell, and now I'm going to give this a quick grind. And I've got my Krups grinder. Which I've had for about 10 years now. So yeah, I mean, look how dark the beans are. They are incredibly dark, but they do look amazing. You can see that there's going to be very strong chocolatey notes to this coffee. So let's give this a quick grind. Yeah, So that looks fine. I tend to grind my coffee relatively finely, actually, even for a French press, which is what I'm using today. I do prefer it to be slightly more finely ground. So like I said, today I'm going to be using the French press. I've used the pour over coffee recently in other videos, but actually this is my favorite way of making coffee and kind of how I do it every morning. So yeah, I thought French press with the French roast would go quite well. Yeah, so I like my coffee relatively strong, especially if I'm trying a new coffee. So that is a decent amount of coffee powder at the bottom. The kettle is freshly boiled, so I'm going to pour this into my Starbucks coffee. It really does smell good. It smells nice and strong, which is, like I said, how I like it. I'm just going to give this a quick stir and let that infuse into the coffee. So I haven't got my Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band mug today. I thought I would use my Starbucks mug because I'm trying a Starbucks coffee, so I thought that would go quite well. Also, today is the 5th of November, which is election day in the United States. So I thought it would be fitting to try an American coffee, and Starbucks is about as American as you get when it comes to, you know, coffee brands and that kind of thing. So one other thing that my friend bought for me was this Cafe Verona Starbucks, and these are little pods that go into coffee filter machines. So I haven't actually got one of these machines at the moment, so I'm just going to hang on to these. And what I found really interesting about this, I don't know if you can see, but on the packet here is written in French and in English. So you've got notes of dark cocoa and caramelized sugar, notes de cacao noir et de sucre caramélisé. I'm a linguist myself and I'm interested in languages, and I think they've got it in French because it's for the Canadian market as well. So obviously the region of Quebec speaks French and coffee is super popular in Canada. So that's why I think it's in French as well. I went to Tim Hortons and they also had stuff written in French on their packets of coffee that they were selling. So yeah, that was an interesting little thing that I noticed on the packet. But hopefully I will give these little pods a try one day as well and see what they're like. So I'm going to put the plunger down on my coffee now. It's been about a minute and a half. So the coffee itself is very dark, very black. Some people prefer a coarser ground coffee when they're using the French press, but I kind of tend to stick to a relatively finely ground powder most of the time, to be honest, because I find it infuses more effectively into the water than otherwise. So yeah, that's just how I do it, but obviously everybody grinds their own coffee in their own way. So that's been about 2 minutes now, so I'm going to give this a pour. Yeah, so quite rich, quite dark. Let's give it a smell. Yeah, it smells amazing actually. It smells really good. Proper full-bodied coffee. I'm going to put some milk in because that's how I take my coffee. And now for the tasting. Nice. Still quite hot, still a good temperature. Yeah, delicious coffee. It is on the dark side, and that's what it said on the packet, so that's really cool. Yeah, I love that smokiness. I kind of love smoky coffee, to be honest. It's one of my favourite notes when it comes to flavours. Dark chocolate as well really comes through, and there's almost like a nuttiness at the background as well. So a really interesting sort of array of flavours. Yeah, excellent coffee, actually. I really like that. So I've had quite dark coffees in the past in Brazil, and this is one of the first sort of American coffees that I've tried that are that dark. Lightly roasted coffee is sort of quite in fashion in the UK at the moment, so blonde and that kind of thing is really popular. Yeah, but all round this is an excellent coffee. So what I really like about using the French press is that you really get a lot of the oil that comes out of the coffee and goes straight into the liquid. So that means that you just get such a rich flavour and such a strong flavour. There are pros and cons to sort of every way of making coffee, but this is kind of the one that I always use. This is my go-to method of making coffee, and it's sort of served me well over the years. Yeah, so this is just a delicious coffee. If you like dark roast, then this will be up your street. It does have a strong darkness, you know, I can't think of any other way of describing it, but definitely kind of, you know, dark chocolatey notes. That's one of the main flavours that come through. And like I said, I really appreciate having this bag to actually reseal so I can put that in the cupboard. That's useful because it will save you a container at home in your cupboard. So it does say that this is for the US market only. I haven't seen this in the supermarkets, but I do know you can buy it on Amazon. I can't remember how much it is off the top of my head, but I will look it up and put it in the description for you. So all around a really interesting coffee. So I definitely recommend this coffee. The Starbucks French Roast is absolutely delicious, and if you like dark coffees, I'm sure you will enjoy this. It's got a beautiful flavour and a very full body, so it feels really nice in your mouth. It's got a lovely texture. Although it's slightly sharp from the darkness, it's slightly bitter, but it's not too bitter, it's not overwhelmingly bitter at all. It's just got a very strong dark roast flavour. So do try this coffee if you get the chance. I think you might like it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will put a link to another coffee review that I have done in the past about a Brazilian coffee that you might find interesting. Thanks again, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.